We really think European butter from France is the best butter, and our friend, the expert baker and best-selling cookbook author David Leibovitz, agrees. Check out our recent episode with David to find out how he cooks with quality butter. And for recipes, tips, and cooking advice, go to tasteeurope.com.
You can talk about clientele forever and why they're coming there. But when somebody wants to build a restaurant now, guess where they go? They go look at all the restaurants in Las Vegas.
This is Taste, all in on Las Vegas food, presented by Las Vegas. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. Our Las Vegas week continues with a very fun interview with Michael Mina, a legendary Bay Area chef who has deep roots in Las Vegas. On this episode, we talk about how the city has grown into a world-class culinary destination and get into what he's cooking up at Bardo Brasserie, International Smoke, Strip Steak, and his namesake restaurant at the Bellagio. This guy has serious range, and we talk about how he sources California produce and seafood and brings it out to the desert. We also get a locals-only tour of restaurants off the Strip from a world-class chef who also happens to be a local. Also on the show, Eliza and I pay a visit to the Sphere, an instantly legendary Las Vegas concert and performance venue. Yes, we attended a recent Dead & Company show, but really we were there to check out the food. It's actually quite good, and we share some highlights from the concession stand. I hope you enjoyed this very special Las Vegas episode of the show. Michael Mina, welcome to This Is Taste. How are you?
Oh, I am wonderful, Matt. Thank you for having me.
Well, I have so much to ask you, and we can cover your career and your cookbooks and your new restaurant in New York. But you know what? This conversation specifically is about Las Vegas. Okay. And I wanted to ask you from the jump, you know, you've been operating in Las Vegas for a long time and really have seen the real explosion of interest in restaurants in Las Vegas. And do you consider yourself a Las Vegas chef? I mean,
yeah.
you really are your Bay Area, of course, but you also have so many properties in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm really one of those fortunate people that I would absolutely say, San Francisco is home to me. I moved there in 89. My first restaurant was 91, and it was called Aqua. My second restaurant was at the Bellagio called Aqua. And so really I'm been a very blessed chef that I got to Las Vegas, I think at the beginning of the food scene 25 years ago when it was starting to take off with the Bellagio. And so I was always kind of, I would say, fortunate in the sense that whether it was the media or the people that lived in Las Vegas, I got embraced by them while still being a San Francisco chef living there and having the majority of my restaurants at that time in San Francisco. And now it's pretty equal. I have, kind of about the same amount of restaurants in both areas.
Absolutely. And I think it's so great that we're going to speak with you about Las Vegas, having 25 years of experience there. Mm-hmm. And just to set the table, what are your properties right now in Las Vegas? Let's go over them. So, and like the style of them briefly.
Absolutely.
So we can go through what you're doing now in the city.
Absolutely. I think one of the great blessings of Las Vegas is the casinos are for lack of a better word, they're small cities, right? And so when you're building a casino, there might be a steakhouse, an Italian restaurant, a Mediterranean restaurant, an Asian restaurant, whatever it is, right? And so in Bellagio, I have Michael Mina, which will always be my showcase restaurant. That's, really that's the jewel of where I would spend the most of my time when I'm in Las Vegas cooking and everything else. And that's where, when Michelin was there, we got our Michelin stars there, all of everything like that. Then secondly, the second restaurant was called Strip Steak. And funny enough, that was the first steakhouse that we did, and that was at Mandalay Bay. And that's that's pushing on 19 years now that we've been there. The third restaurant I have, it's called Bardo. And that to me is the quintessential Parisian brasserie. And it's situated in Aria up above in a in an amazing little location because it's a pocket that has Carbone, JG Steak, John George's Steakhouse, and then Bardot. And so be really blessed neighbors. To
Yeah.
have
I mean,
beside you.
those are hot tickets right there. And Bardot is like a brasserie, I would imagine.
Brasserie, French brasserie, and we've tried to stay, everything from when we designed it to going and sourcing, the interiors, bringing materials from Paris, bringing materials from France, just really giving it that authentic feeling. The fourth restaurant I have is a partnership that I did with Aisha Curry years ago. It's called International Smoke, and Aisha Curry has obviously become quite a force on her own. She's Stephen Curry's wife, and that's barbecue from around the world. And so we kind of, Aisha's cooking style is, and her ethnicity is also mixed. And so we kind of had a lot of fun with what she liked to cook and then brought it into the barbecue world. And probably the restaurant that I am most excited about right now in Las Vegas that we just launched a few months ago because it is near and dear to my heart and what's something I've always wanted to do. It's called Orla, and it's at Mandalay Bay. And that is all of my roots and my upbringing. I'm Egyptian and was born in I was born in Egypt, but moved to the United States when I was young, but still grew up in a very Middle Eastern household in the sense of 7 brothers and sisters that all lived in the area. But, my mother was from Cairo, my father was from Alexandria, and anybody who knows about, kind of the history of, cuisine in Egypt, there's a lot of unknowns, I would say, that people, when you ask people, because one, it's in the Middle East, so there's a lot of crossover throughout the Middle East. But when Alexander the Great invaded Egypt and, obviously settled in Alexandria, it's amazing how much, and then 300 years of Greek influence, right? How much those cuisines cross over. So Orla really pays homage to that in the sense of some of what I grew up thinking was, Middle Eastern, but was actually had a lot of Greek influence in it. And then we kind of elevate it with, some of the innovation and techniques that I've kind of used throughout my career to do those dishes.
It's amazing to hear about your history in Las Vegas and all the different concepts that you're running and the formats. And really, I think you're very qualified to answer this question. But, 25 years ago when you opened in the Bellagio, there was a particular style of diner and there was a particular style of scene in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Can you explain what it was like opening there 25 years ago? What was this culinary scene like in Las Vegas then?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, let's just put it this way. We used to have a station, like anybody who's worked in a kitchen knows, there might be a roast station or a saute station or a fish station or a meat station. We had a station called the Las Vegas station. We would have everything from shrimp cocktail to Caesar salad to prime rib to things that, because, one thing that you learn quickly in Las Vegas is you don't say no, because you don't know who you're saying no to. And at the end of the day, the people that are there and they're gaming and they're, you don't want to say no to the wrong person.
I mean, Chef, that's like a real and added pressure for you because, you're running restaurants all over the world, but you really, and you are guest centric and you want your guests to be happy. But when you've got names like Bellagio, Aria, Mandalay Bay, you're like the face. Your face is literally outside the restaurants. So what kind of like labor would you put into like making sure all these guests are taken care of?
You know what I did find right away with Las Vegas? Okay, so probably what was my biggest concern going into Las Vegas, because people are people, chefs are chefs. You tell somebody 25 years ago you're going to Las Vegas, and everybody's either going to tell you they're pros or they're cons, and most people tell you that they're cons, and everybody is like, how are you going to staff your restaurant? One thing I learned from day one that was just so beautiful was Las Vegas, while they maybe had not had too many restaurants like a John George doing a restaurant, or a Julian Serrano, or a Le Cirque, or whatever, or a Michael Mina, it doesn't matter. What they did have, and they were doing, was they were doing service for a lot of people. So even if it was a whatever, a Rainforest Cafe, I don't care.
Nice reference. Love that.
That server was serving 8 tables or 9 tables. So they understood service, teaching them what we do, and teaching them, getting them to the refinement, and getting them that education was a lot easier than trying to take somebody that had never served 2 tables at one time, or had never cooked for, 2 or 3 tickets at one time. And it actually turned out to be an enormous blessing. I actually, to this day, one of the biggest blessings of those restaurants that I have in Las Vegas is my staff has been with me for so long. I love going to the Las Vegas restaurants. I know everybody, all the employees. The employees know all the guests too, and it really, it turned out to be a positive that I'd say is I probably haven't seen it anywhere else.
We'll get to some of your local picks, because I really want to tap into that after all your experience there. You must have some real gems that we'll highlight. But let me ask you about, service in general. We're talking about a place where it's volume. There's people coming through all hours at all time. Let me ask you, how do you train your service to give your diners that Las Vegas experience? Because you've got diners from China, from France, from Mexico, from Topeka. You've got people from all over, lots of backgrounds, which, maybe you'll find that in New York, but New York diners are kind of a little bit of a thing. But Vegas is like the swath.
Well, I think you just nailed it on the head. I think you just nailed the difference between a restaurant with good service and a restaurant with great service, in my opinion. In my personal opinion, a restaurant with great service doesn't mean that the fork is always exactly in the right spot, or this or that. It means that you can read your guest, and you have set systems up in your restaurant, and you've given the autonomy, and you've given the leadership to the people on the floor to be able to read their guests and to feel comfortable telling you, this is what we need to do for this guest. Because, we'll have guests that literally between apps and entrees will go play a hand of cards. and
Wait, for real?
For real.
That's really intense. I love that.
And so, and you've got to be able to read your guests, and, because everyone is, and especially now, because Las Vegas has changed so much that people are coming now 100% for the experiential part of dining and maybe shows and things like that. And they might not even gamble when they're there.
It's obvious with the Sphere, of course, opening, people are coming just for that place. Let me ask you about, that idea of you're leaving drinks and apps, you're hitting blackjack, you're doing craps, you're coming back with a couple of chips. You've had a good time. Or in general, celebrating at Michael Mina after a nice day at the tables, I gotta believe is a really fun thing that is part of Las Vegas. The fact that you have maybe a little bit of extra to spend in your restaurant.
Sure. Well, look, at the end of the day, I think, when people come to Las Vegas, I would still tell you, of course, my heart, but I know this is cliche, but, San Francisco, it's such a special place for me because I wouldn't be sitting here with you if it wasn't for San Francisco, and it wasn't for my first restaurant there, and everything that everyone did, all the support, whether it was from the amazing, staff, which you have in San Francisco, very well-educated staff there, to great clientele there. But I can tell you, cooking in Las Vegas is a lot of fun. And it's a lot of fun because people are there to have a good time. And I am a firm believer that I never set out to open the Whisper Joint. What I call the Whisper Joint is the place where when you go there, you feel like you need to whisper.
Yeah.
And you feel like, if you're there to worship the food. Don't trust me. I'm very passionate about food and what we do. But I want our restaurants to feel like a party. I want people to be having a great time. And with Las Vegas, that's what you have. You have, especially because a lot of the business or the conventions and things like that will get done in the daytime. And there's a reason why they're doing it in Las Vegas. Yes, because they can hold large conventions. They can do all that. But my guess, I don't know the stats, but my guess is more people show up when the convention's in Las Vegas than probably anywhere else.
Yeah, it's not hitting the same as like, even like El Paso.
Right.
No shade to El Paso, great city, I love that city, but
Right.
it's just not hitting the same.
Right.
A dental convention in Las Vegas, like it's going to be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of cuisine, let's just take us through a little bit of what Michael Mina at Bellagio, what you're doing there with the cuisine. You've outlined, your smoke and your brasserie and your seafood restaurant, but I want to get like a sense of what's the namesake when guests are going to Las Vegas. Bellagio is one of many great casinos that have high-end dining.
Yeah.
What's happening there at your restaurant?
So there you're going to have a handful of items, luckily, like when you've been cooking as long as I have, you're going to have 4 or 5 items that you always have to have on the menu. So I'm always going to have the caviar parfait, the tuna tartare, the lobster pot pie, the veal crusted sole, maybe those 4 items, right? And so those classics, people are going to expect to have them at the restaurant. And then outside of that, what Michael Mina is so my absolute, just one of the all-time great human beings, couldn't be a more beautiful person, has been with me since the Michael Mina days in San Francisco, been with me through getting the Michelin stars there to deciding when the only Michael Mina was going to be in Las Vegas that he wanted to move there and run that. He was the chef de cuisine for David Bouley.
Wow.
Rest
in peace.
Yeah. And he is so precise with his cooking. So it's wonderful. His name's Raj Dixit. And it's just wonderful because what we do is we play. That's the spot where it's like him and me will be on the phone constantly talking about a dish and like every other restaurant, we're going to change seasonally because you're going to use products that are in season. But we're a season ahead, like talking about what are the dishes going to be? What are we going to do? What are we going to do large format that's fun for the whole table that's a show? What are we going to do that's going to be individualized? What's the tasting menu going to feel like? How's it going to feel different? So I just probably gave you a non-answer.
No, you didn't give me a non-answer. You gave me an answer because the menu evolves and you've given some real tentpole dishes. Let's talk about making tasting menus. You've got all sorts of different parties. You got wedding parties. You've got NBA Summer League coming, and you've got like athletes in the house. And I mean, that's got to be so cool to have such different people in your restaurant. I mean, it's like got to be a wild card, pun intended, to have walking in the doors of Michael Mina.
It really is, and that's probably one of those great blessings that you get in our industry. It wasn't easy to tell my parents that I wanted to be a chef, but I didn't want to be
Two Egyptian parents, they wanted to be doctor,
lawyer, and engineer.
Yeah.
And now when they get to see, the people that, I'm blessed to get to meet and cook for, and it's really exciting. And the biggest thing I think that you do, that we do, what we do is we usually have about 3 different kind of, I would just say, categories of tasting menus. We'll have the ones where it's like, just cook for me just because I don't want to deal with the menu. And we kind of get an understanding of how they like to eat. Maybe they're not too adventurous, but it'll be a fun menu. It won't be super adventurous, but they will still have been completely taken care of because they didn't have to worry about looking at the menu or anything else. Then we have the ones where people are true foodies and they want to eat and they come to, and then we have the third one where they come to your restaurant quite often. So, because we usually change it, probably the real foodie one will change, once every couple months kind of seasonal with the seasons. The third one will be just cooking off the cuff. and just saying, okay, they come a lot, so let's cook dishes for them. And so what we try to do is like even cooks on our stations will tell them, you do something with strawberries and scallops. You do something with this and this and this. So you don't have like repetition.
Amazing.
In the menu.
You give them little quick fire challenges.
Yeah. You do something, these are the 2 or 3 components. Now you finish the dish. So you don't have repetition in the menu. So 2 people aren't giving somebody strawberries and scallops, right?
Yeah.
And then we have some fun with people like that.
What do you say, and this must happen when you have a client come in and they're like, Michael, cook for me. Money is no option. I'm sure that. I mean, how do you address that?
There's 2 areas that you address it. It's not about serving somebody 10 ounces of caviar.
Exactly.
No one wants to eat 10.
No one.
That's not a
that.
balanced tasting.
Or
menu.
like a ribeye that's going to fill them up, like a big cut. You don't.
So the methodology with the food doesn't change much.
Okay.
It doesn't change much. Maybe, if it's white truffle season, you get a little bit more of that. If you've got depending on what you have, like if I have something really cool in house, like right now, we opened and with bourbon steak, and we've got these, giant, because they're live right now, Alaskan king crabs. So those are really expensive, right? So you might let them know you have those. But with food, it's kind of there. But then you've got to really make sure that your sommeliers are disciplined, because they're the ones that are really important to go over and talk to the table, because that's the level of the menu. You write the menu, and then it's really the level of what they want with the wine pairing. So if they want to go absolutely nuts, it's going to end up being on the wine or on the beverage side.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense because, if it's like, several $1,000s a head, or I'm putting money limits, but that's probably low in some cases. Yeah, you can make it go to any level you want with the wine service and drink service.
And sometimes people say that, but it still doesn't really give you the, doesn't give you that hall pass to just go to that level. You got to balance it.
I wanted to ask the question because there are guardrails, and like you're not trying to gouge anybody here. You want to be like hospitable, but you also want to give them the luxe experience. There, you want to give them the Las Vegas experience.
And the guardrails are easy. Like I'll give you some simple ones. It's like as you're going through them. Okay, I know chef's gonna do this. Tomahawk. Would you like me to pair it with a Petrus or something like that? Something that you're already going to know what level they're really
right.
at.
It's like we're talking Petrus or any of the Super Tuscans, some of those, or those Napa wines.
Yeah. So you can figure out what level they really want to go.
Yeah.
Without insulting anybody.
That's the delicate nature, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the seasonality of your menu. And I want to get a sense, you operate restaurants throughout California. And like California is like a 5-hour drive. LA is from Las Vegas. How do you work with the products? Because I think there still is, even today, a perception Las Vegas is in the middle of the desert. It is a desert. So like, how are you getting sushi there? How are you getting like explain to our listener?
We can get product in Las Vegas that sometimes we can't get in California.
Okay, explain.
Explain is very simple. Supply and demand. Supply and demand. It's like everything else. If the demand is there, the supply will get there. Especially Las Vegas is a simple one though, because it's just a drive away. I mean, look, you got Santa Monica produce markets 4 hours away. I mean, the trucks are coming in once or twice a day, and you get the same product that you can get. There.
Wolfgang Puck told me the exact same thing.
Yeah,
it's like they'll truck it in from LA, and it's
but sometimes we'll get I get Dover soles that I couldn't get in San Francisco. I'm getting them in Vegas. I'm like, I want this same Dover sole in San Francisco. Oh, we can't get it. We don't have enough demand for it to bring it to San Francisco, but we got more in Vegas, so we'll bring it to Vegas. So that's what's kind of funny. But with Las Vegas, I think it wasn't easy at the beginning. I can tell you that. Monterey Bay Fish, big shout out to you right now. Thank you, because you were a fish company that I made you bring in all my produce, half my dairy. I had my fish company running around the Bay Area, getting all my other product and then bringing it when they
And just
brought
trucking
the
it
fish,
down from-
trucking it with the fish. So they'd come in with the fish, but they also had my produce. And
That's
everything.
wild to think about the evolution, and I think you've articulated so well about why Las Vegas is truly an international food destination because you're so close to the farms of Southern California, but you're also like you have the demand, as you say, and you have this diner who has the aptitude to demand what they would demand.
Right.
And on that note, what are some, let's go story hour. Like, what are some like outrage, like 25 years in Vegas, you must have had some pretty crazy, unique demands for products. Like, give me an example or two about the things that you've done to make guests happy with products.
I mean, when we opened Bellagio, it's actually something, we're actually doing at Bourbon Steak here, but when we opened Bellagio, we had a cart that we used to do whole roasted livers of foie gras, and they were for the table, and we'd caramelize apples and slice them, and you might do that, great pairings that go with that, and it would be funny because every once in a while you'd find like a little small lady that would say, "I'd like to order that," and then you'd say, you delicately they're trying to explain that it's for the table. And then I remember the first time that happened, I delicately was explaining it. It's for the table. And she looked at me and she said, "I know how to read. I'd like to order that for me." And she ate the whole thing. And I said, "Okay, maybe I'll keep my mouth shut."
Yeah, keep your mouth shut. Let the diner. That's amazing. So like a full order roasted at the table. What about seafood flown from around the world? You must have had some really outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're able to do things, when things are in season. You're able to bring in the most beautiful seafood in the world. You're getting, fish from Japan constantly, and you're getting, it really for us, it's like similar to what we try to do everywhere. It's like, you're getting Santa Barbara spot prawns when they're around. You're getting, you can bring in stone crabs from Florida. You can bring in, the best of the best. And you can bring it in from anywhere around the world as well.
How does the supply chain work when you're flying? Is it just this airport just has an amazing, frequency from all over the world?
Yeah.
It's just like
again, like I said, it's because the demand has, there's so many restaurants in Las Vegas now, and the demand has become so high that, you're getting in products 3, 4, 5 times a week.
Let's go to the brasserie. Let's talk about being neighbors with Carbona and JG. What's the scene like on a Saturday? Is Saturday the big night in Vegas, or is it?
It varies because of conventions,
sure.
Sometimes, and what's going on in Vegas. But yeah, the weekends are going to be big because a lot of whether it's Formula One or whether it's the Super Bowl or whatever it is, a lot of it's going to happen on the weekends.
Yeah.
So you will get the scene, and I think people get a little crazier on the weekends.
For sure, they're thinking it's a Saturday.
Yeah.
But what's it like being neighbors with these guys and running? Are people going to all 3 restaurants? And
yeah, they are. I mean, I think we're all blessed that they are going to all 3 restaurants, and I think that it's interesting because obviously with Carbone having such an amazing footprint in New York and in Miami, and John George all over the world, but New York, and then we have, a lot of people from the Bay Area and from California, and it's a nice mix what goes on up there.
I mean, it's really cool. I mean, Mina says something in SF and really important name. You've got Mario running point in New York and same with JG. Have the 3 of you been in the same room to talk about your projects? Have you done that?
Oh, yeah.
Done that whole... I want to know what's going on when you and JG and Mario are talking about your restaurants. Well, I would love to be in that room one day. That would be, as a writer, I would love to hear it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think, you're comparing notes a lot of times. A lot of times we're either in the same cities or going to the same cities, or one of us is there and another person's coming, okay, I've been in Dubai for 8 years, and so, and then maybe somebody else is coming to Dubai, and so you talk about that, or, and so you you compare notes. I picked at Formula One. I was picking both of their brains tremendously about New York. Because even though I cooked here and lived here and everything else, it's the scene changes constantly, and so
you just opened in the Essex House.
Yeah, just
in New York.
Yeah, just opened at Essex House.
Yeah, congrats on that.
Thank you.
It's amazing. And back to Vegas, I feel like you've been in the city for so long. What are some of your favorite places to go when you have a moment? Maybe to take staff there. Maybe could be anywhere. It could be in one of the other casinos, or it could be anywhere in the city. Just a few favorite restaurants. That you
like Roku is off the Strip. That's a really good spot. Japanese small plates. That's always still a great spot. I love going to Robuchon. It's a long experience. But I love going to L'Atelier. I go there quite often. It's and it's in MGM, and so I don't know if everyone thinks about going there for that meal, but it's really a great experience every time you go there. It's casual in its own way. It's not casual, but it's it's a relaxed vibe, and the food is always very, very, very spot on. And I will always I'll still go to Prime. As long as it's been there. Just there's something about just sitting on the lake in Las Vegas, just sitting on the water, sitting on the lake, and having a steak at Prime and in that room that just never gets old.
I love the way you speak about the diversity of the dining. The Raku is really a legend in the game. And back to the Robuchon question, like when you dine at like a multi-course, multi-hour meal, what are you thinking about as a chef looking at a chef? Like, I mean, you obviously you're so in the game and you're so interested in cuisine. Are you just looking for an inspiration? I mean, how does that work?
100%. I mean, what goes into making that happen. You know exactly how much work is behind it. You're always picking up new things, like whether it's a product or a technique or just how something's presented, even how the server's explaining it. There's always so much to be learned. But honestly, it's just, as a chef, it's just it never gets old. Honestly.
Never gets old.
No, you're just always looking at it and saying, wow, I play basketball and I get to go watch, I get to go watch Steph Curry shoot 3-pointers, right? I mean,
right.
Which
you probably have as well.
I have.
Knowing his wife so well and being a partner with his wife. That's a good example. I mean, how do you handle the travel? I mean, you've got Dubai, you've got New York, you've got LA, you've got SF, you've got Vegas.
Yeah.
Are you like Delta? Are you like American? What do you?
I have to mix it because based on timing, so much of it has to do with the timing of when I need to be there.
Yeah.
I have a very, I have a great wife, Diane. Mina, who she actually has her own business. She has this amazing Bloody Mary that she makes. Oh. So she actually has a pretty thriving business so that has helped a lot, in all honesty, because she's had to
an understanding wife.
She has she has the understanding of it. But the reality is, I'm pretty fortunate. I have created a routine that works for me. Like, I think that when you travel, you have to figure out your routine. For me, it's like I will not check emails. I will not look at emails. I will not look at text messages. I'll only work on menus when I'm on the airplane. Mm-hmm. And the reason I won't look at an email or read a text is because there's nothing you can do. Like, I'm not a big advocate of, let's just say you and me disagree on something and you send me an email. I'm more of an advocate of, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call you. And so if I do that on a plane, then I'll sit and stew on the plane and it'll drive me nuts. And so I've kind of created a routine that I do on a plane. And so that's helped me a lot, actually.
What great advice. I mean, I think we all worship over the Wi-Fi connection on our flights, our international flights, but man, nothing's worse than having a disagreement when you got like 10 hours to go
Right.
on the flight.
Right.
The mental health thing.
Well, and what it does is it's complete distraction of when I look at it, it's like, when you're creating a dish, it's an interesting process. Sometimes it's like you've created it, you could put that spoon down and you're like, wow, I nailed it. And then sometimes it's a year-long process to get it to where you want it, right? And so, and so if you use time that's like, you don't really have there isn't, unless I'm on a plane, I don't have blocked out hours of time to do anything.
So you're writing menus, which I think is, so you're just taking like notes from maybe test kitchen sessions and
anything.
Anything. And you're just writing menus.
Literally one notebook and just scribbling.
I love that idea. What's your day like when you land in Vegas? So you're like working in SF and you got to be in Las Vegas what's it like when you land? Take me through like a day if you're landing in the morning.
I mean, look, they're all going to be different because when you do land, you're going to have a couple fires to probably put out that you have to get answers to
Which
people.
is literally running a restaurant. That's like
right.
Yeah.
But then when you get to the restaurant, I mean, it's important to get your pulse on the restaurant. And so something that I've always said, because you can't do everything. And, I think that one of the issues with chefs, and one of the things that I've had to learn over years, I've learned the hard way, and can't say that I'm happy with everything I've ever done, but I have definitely learned the hard way, is like, when you're a chef, all of a sudden you think you're a plumber, an electrician, because everyone comes to you for everything. Oh, toilet's broken. Let's go ask chef what to do. It's like, I don't know anything about how to fix the toilet, right? And so you start to take that on. You start to take on a lot more than you really are capable of taking on. And I think that one of the things that, I kind of have learned over time is that when you get to a restaurant, if you take the time when you open the restaurant, and I envy chefs that are doing like television that, and they can do it and do it really well. Like, I mean, I watch people that I've been friends with for a long time, like a Bobby Flay or something like that. And it's really hard. Like that takes so many hours of your day. I could never do it. I could never, I could, never do it and then do what I like to do in the restaurant, which is when I open a restaurant, I want to spend 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever it takes, but I want to run it just like if I was going to be the chef of that restaurant. So that when I go there, when I land, when I'm in a city, I feel very comfortable. I know, like, if I've got to take a plate back to the dish area, I know exactly where it goes. Right. Yeah. I feel very comfortable in that room. And to me, that I always know if I didn't do my job right opening a restaurant, because I'm not comfortable with how exactly the restaurant runs. But when I do my job right, and I feel like when I land, I can go there and give the chef the night off and be in the kitchen and run the restaurant, that always is going to give me the best perspective of where that restaurant really is in the life of, that restaurant and its quality and everything else.
It's really fascinating. I mean, I want to get a personal take on you. Do you get more excited about like a P&L that's like looking a little better quarter over quarter, or do you get more excited about the product coming in off the truck? I mean, I think I've met chefs and no chefs who are clearly in one or the other camps. Do you feel like you're...
I don't think there is such a thing as one or the other camps. It's probably one of the things that advice I give chefs more than anything else, people that, because I've done both. I've been the person that could care less what the P&L said and lost great restaurants because of it.
Wow.
And I've been the person that then turns around and focuses too much on the P&L and lost great restaurants because of it, right? And so there is a balance that you have to find of, that's called being a chef. You do have to find the balance. You do have to understand how to use, the full product that's coming in the door, and don't just use the best cut and throw away the rest, or make family meal out of it, or do whatever else it is. There's a science to it, and that's part of being a chef.
Let me ask you, what's the dream project in Las Vegas? There's got to be a concept that you just are fascinated in, and that you think would crush and be really popular, but also like fulfilling creatively.
Well, the next one we're doing is we are doing the kind of new version of bourbon steak, similar to what we just did here, where it's bourbon steak, but it has a few more bells and whistles and a little bit more supper club feeling.
Yeah.
And I do like entertainment. Like I said, I do like to throw a party in the restaurant. And so having live music and things of that nature, this one's going to be at the Four Seasons. And I'm really excited about that project, because I think that project is going to be a spot where both locals and my friends from out of town and people that just want to have fun all hang out. And
love it.
To me, that's like when people ask me about my dream project. Okay, like if you want my dream project, I want to, maybe my last restaurant will be, in Hawaii with no stoves, just everyone's feet are in the sand, and I'm, slicing you ceviche and sashimis and cooking with, and just.
I mean, Michael, I feel like this can happen in Las Vegas. I feel like if anywhere you can recreate a Maui beach with a chef slicing ceviche and fish, it could probably happen in Las Vegas.
It probably could.
All right, I've got a few more questions. It's been really fun catching up, and I think like Las Vegas still, is a mystery to some diners. I think like some folks might not be more into gaming, and they might be more into food. And I guess I want to get to close just your kind of take on how, since you've been there for 25 years,
yes,
how has Las Vegas dining evolved into what World's 50 Best is there this week?
Unbelievable.
It's there this week, and really we're celebrating World's 50 being there with these conversations, and really that to me feels like a big moment. But tell me, how has it evolved?
I can tell it to you very simply. You can talk about clientele forever and why they're coming there, but when somebody wants to build a restaurant now, guess where they go? They go look at all the restaurants in Las Vegas. Who would have ever thought that if you pick a celebrity chef or you pick a celebrity restaurateur, and they were going to build a restaurant in New York City, and they're going to go check out all the designs in Las Vegas and all the different restaurants in Las Vegas. I think it used to be the other way around. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So the fact that is actually happened now in Las Vegas, that people come to Las Vegas, because Las Vegas just used to be a place in which you took a concept and moved it to Las Vegas. Now concepts are being created in Las Vegas and going other places.
Really smart. I love that statement, because it's true with all the interviews you've been doing this week. I feel like it's very much a town that innovates, and
100%.
It creates its own culture.
100%.
And I think it still needs to fight against a perception.
Yeah.
I mean, we aren't even talking about the buffet, because I don't want to talk about the buffet, because the buffet is like the death knell of Las Vegas. Like, the buffet is cool. Like, I'm into a buffet. Listen, I like a good buffet, but like that is not Las Vegas dining. Like you're in the dark ages if you think Las Vegas is about buffets.
Well, and I think that there's this very false myth that, they're successful because they're in Las Vegas and they got to build a $15 million restaurant and they get to be in Las Vegas. That's why they're successful. Trust me, that is very nerve-wracking to build a restaurant that costs a lot to build, and you have to do, X amount of people every month, and you are competing with a lot of other people that are doing the same thing, that are very smart people and very smart operators, working and partnering with very smart casinos. So,
Well, I would say on the flip side, while it's stressful for the operators, it's the diners who win
sure.
by having,
Yeah.
this. No one's resting on laurels.
No.
And
no.
Mina, for 25 years, you've had stress and anxiety over every twist and turn. I'm sure a down quarter, by your respect, it just makes you think differently about some things.
Yeah, when you looked at the list of people opening a Bellagio 25 years ago, I didn't sleep too many nights before that opened.
Yeah. It's a good point. I'm glad you're being real about it, because this week is about being real and about actually having like cool conversations about the real dining scene, not the perception. So I appreciate you being
My
real.
pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining This Is Taste, Michael. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Eliza, we're here in Las Vegas. We're recapping our week of eating and drinking, and also we made it to the Sphere.
We did for Dead and Company.
Oh.
And if we weren't deadheads before, we might be one step closer now.
Oh my gosh, when we saw that, we were like able to be in Vegas during this string of shows. They're doing 24 shows through July. We had to go, but we had some ideas of a mission, but we'll get to that later. I wanted to talk about the Sphere in general, because honestly, it's been in our feed since it opened in September 2023. And I just wanted to kind of get some stats out there, because I think it's hard to tell from Instagram or wherever what's going on at the Sphere until you're there. So really, here's a couple crazy things I learned. The Sphere's capacity is 18,000 people, which is almost identical to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, which is a place that we've both been, and it feels like it doesn't play that big. It plays more intimate than the Barclays Center, I have to say that. The other thing is that it feels like the seating, the way it's seated, is you're not interacting with people that much. And that's actually not a bad thing for a concert, meaning you're not bumping into people in crowded hallways. Did you agree with that at all?
I mean, there's tons of people in the space, but I feel like everyone's being managed in a really intentional way. The way that the Sphere works is that there's general admission on the ground floor, and then there's maybe 5 or 6 floors going up the levels of the Sphere that has seats that people can go in, and you're kind of going up in these escalators, and there is a lot of people moving around the space, but I do feel like there is enough room for everybody. It feels very clean and new in a way that I haven't really felt that way about most concert venues.
So the Sphere opened in September 23 with a U2 residency that ran, I think, around, I would say, 41 shows. The price tag of the Sphere is $2.3 billion. It's the most expensive stadium performance theater in American history. It was originally supposed to be around 1.8, but why not round up a few hundred million? And really, the cool thing is it has 160,000 square feet of video screen, which is basically the entire ceiling and backdrop of this venue. It's incredible experience, and really blew me away. I knew it was going to be a good experience. What did you think about the actual screens?
Well, I would say the whole experience for me was kind of like going to a mega church as an atheist, and that I wasn't a deadhead. And I also kind of had reservations about the Sphere, just in terms of the energy component of what it takes to run those screens all the time. And to be honest, I do still wish that they would turn the Sphere off when there isn't a show happening. I just don't think that needs to be happening. But going into the Sphere with the crowd, first of all, was awesome, because everybody was just so excited to be there. All of these older dead folks were telling us unprompted about their favorite shows that happened 30 years ago. The younger generation was getting to kind of tap in for one of the earlier times. And you walk into this space and you just see humanity bopping around, being so happy to be there. I'm smiling just thinking about it, because it really was, it felt very human for such a high-tech experience, which is something I wasn't expecting. And I think that plays into the visuals that they employ as well.
Well said, Eliza. And really, John Mayer, just that guy is in his bag. He's so good right now. And the music itself is not really my thing, but I really don't think that's what it's about. It's about being there with the folks. And they played Maggie's Farm on Dylan's birthday, and people were really into the music and really were into the vibes.
Yeah, it sounded great. I think I totally played into the Sphere's hopes for the guest experience, and that when you walk in, it basically looks like they're playing in a giant barn venue. And I think I said out loud, wow, I thought they were going to do more. And then as soon as I said that, the walls of the barn fall away. It transitions into a street in Haight-Ashbury, and then almost like a hot air balloon effect of everybody lifting up over until it's the whole world, man. But
Yeah.
I did feel that way. And I thought the sound was great. And even the 20-minute drum solo was awesome because they're vibrating all the seats.
Yep.
When you do that, back to the megachurch effect, the fact that everyone around us sat down immediately when they knew that was going to happen, and we just kind of followed suit. And then also we went and ate a lot of food when we were there.
We did. And one more note, the guy next to me, when they were opening up the doors, he was like, open it up, open it up. And like, it was like he clearly had been there before, like, and seen that effect. But it's such an incredible opening moment of this set to see yourself float over San Francisco. I fully agree. I love that.
Also, the Dead & Co. fans are so excited to be there, and you can know that everyone is talking about it in the Facebook groups ahead of time. So maybe they just know what's going to happen with the visuals. We also got a tip off from a Dead & Co. Facebook group that the pizza was going to be really great at the Sphere. So I do think we ate more food at the Sphere than anyone else has ever eaten. We went to like all of the different stands, and when intermission hit and we had a platter full of waffle fries and everything else, we definitely were getting a lot of jealous looks.
So let's get to the food, Eliza. And you know, you did some great research going into this. You learned something about the pizza being served at the Sphere. It's not your typical stadium pizza.
Well, I'm just going to give a shout out to my friend Rose, who used to tour with Dead & Co., who is our insight into the Dead & Co. tour family Facebook group. And she sent us a screenshot that someone says, "This will be the dumbest question today, maybe all month. I was at the shows last weekend, and the pizza sauce at the Sphere was ridiculous. It's the sauce I've been looking for. Does anybody know what brand of sauce they use? If you're going and can snag me a picture of the label, you'll be my hero." Well, I'm here to tell Jimmy Katz from the Dead & Co. tour family Facebook group that the pizza is being made by Pizza Rock, which is a local pizza restaurant here in Vegas.
Yeah, and it really was a choice to go Sicilian style with the actual format of the pizza. They could have gone New York style and just done slices. They could have definitely done Nona style with a little bit of a thinner crust, but like a pan. But they're going full Sicilian, and I feel like that choice is a good choice because, listen, you're at a concert and you want a slice of pizza. You want to feel that bread. You want to feel that you want to feel it inside you. You don't want to just feel the vibes from Bob Weir. You want to feel the bread hitting you hard.
Yeah, we tried a couple different slices. Honestly, I wouldn't say the sauce itself was anything special, but it totally hit the pizza craving, which was maybe what you're looking for. And also, I want to say that this post has over 500 likes and 300 comments. So I think a lot of people are interested in the food options at the Sphere in general.
For sure. And we're going to get into all the food. And I feel like we're doing like the deep journalism that we're known for. That's a joke. But
the hard-hitting.
The hard-hitting.
That America needs.
But what I loved about the pizza also is that they had packets of Parmesan Reggiano and crushed red pepper at the concession. It felt very considered. I liked the pepperoni a little bit more than the plain cheese. Mileage may vary with a plain cheese slice at a stadium, but I feel like it was fine.
Yeah, honestly, I would say the meatballs and marinara that we got from the Pizza Rock stand were the best.
Totally agree. Great call on that. We ordered the marinara and balls, and honestly, hot. It wasn't like medium temperature. It was like hot. And I love that about stadium food. The temperature to me is most important. And you can definitely tell when something has been sitting out or has been under the heat lamp forever, or if it's been freshly prepared. And they were pretty much hitting the marks on this visit.
Yeah. I mean, I would say my favorite thing that we got to eat at the Sphere were the pretzel sticks.
Great call, Eliza. I think we should transition this conversation into the heavier foods, the real stadium food, chicken tenders, pretzel sticks. So we got a great tip from one of the vendors. We asked them if there were any highlights, and we got this pretzel with queso.
Yeah, it was a white queso, like a very runny queso, but the pretzel sticks were super long and they had the kind of fluffy inside and that kind of brined, crunchy, very salty exterior. They were everything I wanted out of a pretzel stick, and also 3 times as big as I thought they were going to be, which is always a win.
Very much agree. I like that they were like griddling it in probably some kind of butter.
They were very buttery.
I love that. And the queso was really good. So that's a real highlight there. Chicken tenders were pretty good. What do you think about chicken tenders there?
I mean, I think a chicken tender is a chicken tender, and as long as it's not raw, it's going to be pretty good. So it was a pretty good. I also think the waffle fries were great. They were a sweet potato waffle fry, which if you are a sweet potato waffle fry fan, were really great. They come with a Togarashi ranch. I honestly didn't get
Air quotes.
Togarashi.
Yeah, air quote Togarashi.
All ranch. But it was great. And we did have extra fries that we got to gift to some nearby Dead & Co. fans, which I think was our mitzvah of the day.
It was, okay, set the scene here. Here's Eliza and I and Shirley and Clayton like running around the stadium. It was like right before intermission, about 2 hours into the show, of a 4.5 hour show, mind you. And like, we're like hitting every stand. We're like stuffing our faces, but we have extras. Here's Eliza, bless you, anti-food waste, kind soul you are. You found a home for these fries, and the person was happy that they had fries.
Well, I asked the people next to us, and they actually declined, but then said that the nice young men sitting in front of them might want them and pointed them out. So I brought them over to there, which I do think is very much in the spirit of Dead & Co. So I was happy we got to do that. Should we talk about the tacos?
Let's talk about the tacos. I think the tacos were, we were going into it extremely skeptical, correct? Like that's kind of like not really the format for eating decent tacos, right?
I mean, I always have high hopes for tacos because there really aren't that many components. And if you have a good tortilla and you have one good filling, then I think you're in a good stead. But I do think tacos are not necessarily the most common food for that format. So cautiously optimistic. I like that they had a vegan chorizo option. There weren't a ton of vegan like protein options at the Sphere in general, so that was nice to see. And also the birria taco, like I wouldn't really call that birria, but I did think like it was short rib and it was very tender and well cooked. So it was, even though it wasn't exactly what I thought it would be, it did hit a moment.
It was like more guisado. It was like soupy.
Yeah, it was. And it was 3 in an order. And they also were doing margs and all of those kinds of things. And also a hot tip is that the taco place is on the ground floor and then the other food is above it. And when we were up on the 4th floor, like all the food was being mobbed, but down on the bottom level, actually, I felt like it was easier to get food.
Yeah. And like shout out to the vegan chorizo brand Abbott's. That's the brand they were using. And I thought it was really good for a plant-based option. I like that brand a lot.
It's a pea protein based chorizo.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree that, I'm pretty optimistic about tacos and these were pretty good. They delivered. We also had street corn, which to me is like not ever what you want at a concert.
Oh, I loved it.
No, so it worked out, but like it's like messy, it gets stuck in your teeth. It's like not like easy to eat, but man, it was pretty good. I didn't try it. I was like, I'm not.
I liked it. It was pretty juicy. It had a good amount of mayo and parm, and then what I think was probably chipotle powder on it.
Yeah.
I think I didn't realize I would need to bring floss to the Sphere, so that component was maybe a little tricky, but I definitely think that Angelino and me growing up, like elote on the street in front of a concert venue is like the most classic thing, and it felt very much like what I wanted.
Before we get to the dessert, I want to just do a little side about the self-vending there. Very smart. We're in this society now that we do a lot of self-checkout. It's becoming part of our culture, and wisely so. It's very easy to do and makes it like really like user-friendly. So they have like a lot of self-vending booths at the Sphere, and really like it's all Pepsi drinks, which some may like it, some may not. I'm kind of a Diet Pepsi fan personally. But the beer selection was pretty good. I felt that I saw Modelo, 805 Cerveza, Pacifico, a lot of craft beers, like probably I would say about 10 beer options. I grabbed an Athletic Freewave IPA downstairs, so they have some NA beers there.
And it's not fully self-service. They have folks there manning it, but you can pick what you want out of the fridge and bring it over to checkout.
That's right. That's a good distinction. It's not full self-service, but it's a little easier grab and go. But it definitely beats the lines. And really, let's talk a little bit about prices because we haven't really gotten into that. I would say like the beers are $20 a can, which is like super typical. Cocktails are $21 a drink, and to me is stadium drinking, concert drinking. It's certainly exorbitantly expensive to some, i.e. us, but it's just the way it goes when you're at a concert.
Yeah, not to be a stickler, but I'll say the domestic beers are $19 a can.
There you go.
And then premium, in quotes, is $20 a can. They are tall boys, so it's not like...
They're tall boys. That's the other point. Sorry, really good point there, Eliza. They are tall boys, so you're getting many more ounces. You could drink like 150 ounces of beer if you want during that show. I have to also say that they have like extreme stoner snacks just like hanging out from like they have Doritos. You can buy Funyuns at the Sphere. You can buy lots of different types of candies. I think that they were really smart about having like snacky foods. And then, of course, we had some dessert, too.
Yeah, I like that they have little salt and straw ice creams in the grab and go section. I do think having ice cream at a concert is an underrated experience.
For sure. Very easy to use. And they also had this kind of cookie ice cream sandwich. It was a cookie. It was like a white chocolate macadamia nut, but like a big, like kind of outsized portion of ube ice cream. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it would be difficult to eat as a sandwich for sure. But I did like the white chocolate macadamia nut cookie. It had a nice amount of chew in the middle. It wasn't like just one of those really dry, snappy cookies that you sometimes find on an ice cream sandwich. And ube has definitely been a reoccurring theme of our time here in Vegas. We had other ube ice cream and ube desserts. So it's interesting to see the way the Sphere is trying to play into food trends, certainly with birria tacos as well. And it's interesting to me also because besides from the Pizza Rock stand that we mentioned, there really wasn't any food branded from restaurants as far as we could tell. It seemed like it was all proprietary in-house. And as someone that doesn't go to a lot of stadium shows, I found that to be interesting because I think it is kind of common to have fast food or like a local restaurant franchise or something. How did that hit for you, Matt?
It was an interesting choice. It's a good distinction because we often do see local restaurants like at the Barclays Center. There's like 5 to 10 local restaurants represented, and we only saw one here. I mean, it's maybe a consistency thing. They wanted to keep it all in-house. It could be the early days. You know, the Sphere has only been open since last September and has had only a few concerts here. So maybe that will increase. They'll probably like figuring it all out. But I kind of like the food in general. I didn't have any like super issues with it. And it was like way better than I expected. Do you have a single favorite bite?
Pretzel stick.
Me too. I'm going to have to say that as well as my favorite bite. I liked definitely the chicken tenders with sweet potato fries. I thought that was like a nice version. Even though the Togarashi ranch wasn't really Togarashi, it still was ranch, which to me is an incredible choice to have available. I loved that.
Yeah, I think it was all great. And I think just meditating a little more on this concept of not having other known food brands at the Sphere, my instinct would probably be that they are trying to own the whole experience, that everything is just the Sphere and there aren't other brands or things that are being known in that same context, which, you know, it is an immersive experience with the screens and the music and even the vibration in the seat. So it's just an extension of that.
It's great catching up about the Sphere with you, Eliza. Are you gonna book another show? Are you gonna go see Dead tonight?
Yeah, you're never going to see me again. I'm just going to go on tour with Dead & Co.
This has been All In on Las Vegas Food, presented by Las Vegas. This is Taste is hosted by Eliza Abarbanel and me, Matt Rodbard. The show is produced by Shalia Harris and Pat Stango and edited by Clayton Gumbert. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter for updates on all cool things that are happening.